All right, we are live. Thank you so much for your patience. We are here. Thank you so much. And welcome to another live broadcast here on our Samba Journeys YouTube channel. Hope you guys had a wonderful day. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Today's date is September the... Hold on, let me do this again. Today's date is September the 21st, 2025. I had to remember I was going to do an audio recording of this to make it into a podcast, an audio podcast. You know, so right after this, I'll just upload it to my Google Drive. And if you want to download it, it'll be available for you, okay? All right. So today we got a full broadcast ahead of you. I see we already, okay, all right. We've got a full broadcast in the house. We're going to talk about a number of things here. So if you're someone that, you know, you're a little short on time, that's fine. That's cool, you know, but I'm just going to go down the rundown here in a little bit and talk about some of the things that we're going to be discussing today, among which we're going to be focusing on this, you know, earlier this week I posted the stats that show that men across the board, regardless of race, tend to be exponentially higher when it comes to suicides than women. And what is some of the causes behind that? We're going to talk about that. I also got some great examples of good fathers, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy that. There's like two examples I want to show real quick here. I'm going to give y'all some education too, a little bit of education of social media and how it works and how it benefits certain people while it doesn't benefit others. And some of y'all may not be aware of this, but we're going to go through that. We're also going to look at some hard data that I'm sure that some of y'all is going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but we're going to look at the actual data, but I'm going to be pulling from my own personal experience to back that data, okay? And it's what happens when black folks come to town, okay? So we're going to be honest. We're going to have an honest conversation about that. But of course, we're going to look at some solutions too, because, you know, we're not going to just talk about problems and not going to present some solutions as we try to do in every video that we do. I'm going to mention this. There's a story about, I'll just wait until that comes up, okay? I'll just share that. But anyway, meantime, we have somebody in the house who is letting me know that today is their 63rd birthday. Well, first of all, happy birthday to you, Iram. Happy birthday, 63. You know, September is a holy month. It's a blessed month, okay? Because somebody else I know who has a birthday this month, and there's somewhere in this room. I ain't gonna say who, but anyway, it's really a divine month. I have to say, it's out of all the months in the year, I have to say September. I mean, it's such a great month. Even Earth, Wind, and Fire did a song about the month. Okay, so I'm just saying, you can't go any higher than Earth, Wind, and Fire, okay? So anyway, happy birthday, Iram, and I'm so glad that you could join us and that you're here with us for another year, all right? But anyway, we're getting ready to start in a few seconds here, and we're getting ready to go. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you again for tuning in. And yeah, what we're doing now is I am doing an audio recording of this broadcast. You know, so for those of you who, you know, I get a lot of times I get feedback from people that say, hey, I listen to you while I'm working and doing stuff. That's great. I'm glad, you know, so I want to make it even easier for you. So if you prefer an audio version of it, I'll make that available for you right after this. And so just keep your eyes on the community page, and I'll put a link there on the page for you so you can download it. OK. Herbal Harmony said, it's really a beautiful month. I know. It's just something about this month. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna dive right into it, and let's go ahead and get into some real talk. Today, as I alluded to in my post earlier, I am getting of that age where I'm just gonna say it, and when you're younger, you do say things, but you say it in a way where it's you try to I don't want to ruffle too many feathers. I'm gonna say it, but I don't want it. But now, as you get older, I think you realize that it's okay. That didn't work. Okay, so I'm just gonna say it, and just so you guys understand, I mean, for those of you who've been following us for some time, and I would say the same thing about my wife. I mean, we're not a people that do this for clicks, okay? Not at all. And trust me, there's a lot of pressure to do certain things for clicks, but I just can't bring myself to do those things. I just can't. When you see people, doing some clickbaitish stuff, and I actually posted a video earlier today of someone. I mean, it's just shameful, very shameful. Someone taking advantage of, the ignorance of some people and emotions, and posting things where they are literally trying to take the momentum of a real story of someone who decided to end their lives to try to get more clicks out of it by reaching into a story that took place last year. And it works. I think for many of you guys, you just get online and you just surfing away and all that stuff. But I've been doing this for at least maybe 20 years. Not maybe in this measure. I podcasts I had 12, 13, 14 years ago. It was a long time ago. I did podcasts. I was on radio. I was, and I wrote a whole lot, and I did a lot of stuff. And so I have been able to see all the different things that go on when it comes to media in front of the screen and behind the screen, and see all the different tricks and stuff that people do in order to get, more viewership, to more listenership and all of that. And it's very evil and dark. And it doesn't matter if the people are black, white, or whatever. People they'll just do whatever they need to do to get the likes and things like that. And it's really crazy when you sit back and look at it, and it's really something. But yeah, I'm at that age right now. I'm just like, screw it. I don't care at this point. I'm just gonna tell you, you know what I mean? And wherever that falls, so be it. But that's kind of where we are right now. So anyway, just so you know, okay, but we're going to be getting into some things later on in this broadcast, and you're going to see exactly why I said what I just did. But anyway, I want to start off this broadcast by sharing with you a video that I came across of Shaq. He said something quite interesting here, and let me go ahead and bring this up on the screen here. And it was really something that really caused me to even, it rolled into a conversation I had earlier today with my wife. And let me go ahead and pull this up on the screen now, and you could, so we can look at it together and take a listen. Okay. All right. Let's see. Here it is. So let's take a listen to this, and I might play it twice because usually someone will come in later on and they will catch half of it. So I'll play it twice for those who missed it. Okay. Back to back.
Who takes care of Shaquille O'Neal?
Nobody. Take care of myself. Like I caught flack one time. I was on this young lady's podcast, and she said, do you express your emotion to your woman? I said, no. Why would I do that? Oh, and they tried to kill me. But I don't. And the reason why, because as a man, you are to protect, provide, and love. And women are emotional and caring. So if I'm telling her I have a bad day, now it's two people with bad days. I don't tell my woman I'm having a bad day. How's your day? Oh, I'm good, baby. I got to take care of it. Because if you put stress on her, she's going to put it right back on you. Because it's our job to protect, provide, and love. But people, oh, you need, no, I don't do that. I take care of everything, and that's just how it's going to be. And you know why I'm like that? Because it's worked for me. It's worked for me, so I'm not gonna meet somebody now and be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Who takes care of Shaquille O'Neal?
Nobody. Take care of myself. Like I caught flack one time. I was on this young lady's podcast and she said, do you express your emotion to your woman? I said, no. Why would I do that? And they tried to kill me. But I don't. And the reason why, because as a man, you are to protect, provide, and love. And women are emotional and caring. So if I'm telling her I have a bad day, now it's two people with bad days. I don't tell my woman I'm having a bad day. How's your day? Oh, I'm good, baby. I got to take care of it. Because if you put stress on her, she's going to put it right back on you. Because it's our job to protect, provide, and love. But people, oh, you need it. No, I don't do that. I take care of everything, and that's just how it's going to be. And you know why I'm like that? Because it's worked for me. It's worked for me. So I'm not going to meet somebody now and be like, oh, no, I'm not doing that.
Now, I think what he said was really, it caused me to really pause a whole lot, Now, what I want you to do, because a lot of times when people hear something from someone that maybe they agree with across the board or they disagree with, we tend to put our biases and to weave that into what they're saying. And we decide in our minds whether or not if we're going to count or discount what they said here. And what we try to do here is, regardless of if you agree with someone or not, overall, look at what they are actually saying. Is it factual or is it not factual? Case in point, on our platform here, we talk a lot about deconstruction, right? And that is looking in the Bible. Now, there are things I have said over and over on this platform in the Bible that are actually truthful things. There are good things. I can acknowledge that and say, yeah, this is something that, honoring your parents, for example, and loving your wife. Those are good characteristics. Those are good recommendations that I think that regardless of who you are, we can build on that. But if it's, but overall, I can look at everything else and say, okay, that's not true. That's not right. That's not historically accurate. And I can cast that part out. That's why even as someone who's left that belief system, I would never tell you to throw your whole Bible out. I would never say that, right? So likewise, when you're listening to someone like a Shaq or whomever it is, we can pick out the things that, that's actually pretty good. Or that's something I should think about. So before I continue, I just want to say that because some people automatically go there. Now, we do know with Shaq, his life is his life, right? But he said something here I think was really important because it ties into a chart that I've been showing you all week. And that is the fact that how men across the board, in fact, I will pull up the chart for you here as soon as I can find it. Is it right here? Give me a moment. I'll pull it up for you. Yeah, here it is. Hold on. It's coming. Okay, here it is right here. Okay, here it is. So these are the suicide rates of men across the board. Now, for our conversation here on this platform, we focus on black folks, right? But as you could see, this trend, it goes across the board. Because this week I have been seeing numbers of people in light of the Trey Reed story, numbers of black folks saying out of their mouths that black folks don't do that kind of stuff. I mean, it's one of the most ignorant things I've been seeing. And so this week we actually gave you a report free of charge. You can download it. It's right here on our community page that showed you, I gave you 50 examples of black folks actually ending their lives. And amongst those 50, there were numbers of cases where black folks did choose to use the exit way by way of hanging. And so I'm listening to a lot of people saying that black folks don't do that kind of stuff as if, well, we may be depressed, but we ain't that depressed, that kind of thing. And I'm like, how stupid can you be? The fact of the matter is, I don't care if you use a gun. I don't care if you jump off of a building. I don't care if you hang. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that you have numbers of black folks out here, a significant number, a measurable amount of people who choose to, the way to deal with their depression is by way of ending it all. That is what we should be focused on, not the method, but the fact that it's happening. But what typically happens, and just showing you just how skewed a lot of people's minds are, is that we will look at this. You're looking at this chart here. We'll look at this chart, but we won't look at the black section. We'll look at the white section and say, well, look at their numbers. Look how high it is. Well, they deal with it more than us. Well, so we ain't got nothing to worry about. And I'm like, okay, let's eliminate the white, the Hispanic, that AI, that's American Indian and Alaskan Native. I think that's what that means there, right? And the Asian. Let's just blank all of that out. And this is focus on the black folk. The fact of the matter is, it happens. That's what we should be focusing on, right? And so this week we were talking about, the correlation between depression and internet usage or social media usage. And I also talked about how the people, the demographic that has the highest usage of social media when it comes to Twitter/X and TikTok are black people. And so if there's a correlation between depression and social media usage, and we're in the lead of that, apparently that's an issue we need to focus on, right? And so you got a lot of folks, they may not be at the point where they're ready to end it all, but they are walking around very depressed. And so when you look at that chart that I just had there, for example, who are the people who are saddling so much depression that they are taking themselves out? It's the men. But see, that doesn't get a lot of attention, doesn't it? Because we live in a society that mostly skews towards focusing on women. And that's not to say that we shouldn't focus on them, because any life should be considered a precious life, shouldn't it? But this, what I just showed you, that should be very alarming. And what Shaq said there, it speaks to a lot of things. Like, as men, we do saddle a lot of things. And the logic that he said was, hey, listen, I know I deal with a lot of stuff, but the last thing I want to do is tell my wife about it, because if I tell her about it, then what's going to happen is not only am I getting her stuff, but I'm also getting my stuff back too. You know what I'm saying? And how much more can I deal with? So that's really something. Now, like my wife, what she pointed out earlier is that she said, yes, that does happen if you're in an unhealthy relationship. For me, when I deal with stuff, it may take sometimes I'll tell my wife, I say, you know what? I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to talk about it yet. I'm not ready to talk about it yet. And she, as loving as she is, she will say, okay, fine. She won't pressure me. She never will pressure me into having to do all, I'm going to tell you everything. She never does that. She'll give me my space. And there's some things it's not like a dark, dirty secret. Like I did something, I killed somebody, or I had an affair. It's never anything like that. But it may be things that as a man, I have to let me figure this out first. Let me kind of work. I see where this is going, whatever it may be. But I'm trying to wrap my head around this and trying to get to understand, what do I need? I'm trying to get to the I know what the solution is, but I have to kind of like give myself time to kind of wrap my head around it. So give me some time to wrap my head around it. And then once I get part of the way there, let me bring you on, and then you can bring me home. But let me kind of get to a little bit to figure out my bearings first on my own. And that's fine. But the problem is, in today's world, a lot of our men do not have that person that they can go to, be it a man or a woman. So what happens is a lot of men tend to just hold it on to themselves. Now, for the brothers out there that want to do we just going to jump on a plane. What is it? The passport bros and all of that. Hey, you do you. I ain't losing any sleep over that. You go, and wherever you going to need to go. And if that's happiness for you, so be it. I'm not one to be up here hitting brothers, men that want to say, hey, listen, I can't find a woman I'm looking for here. I'm going to go overseas. Now, whatever your ulterior motives is, if you're looking for, You know, if you have off reasons for doing that, that's going to come out. I'm not defending those kind of things. But what I'm saying is this, is that there are the men that we do need to acknowledge in that are men who are legitimately are looking for somebody that they can kind of share some of these things with. And what I'm saying in our society today, it is because it's so me-centered, it's becoming more and more difficult. We talk about for women and the issues that women deal with, and it's true. But we don't talk enough about this part of men. You understand? And having someone that you can honestly go to, because, and it's not always going to someone of the opposite sex. A lot of times it's before you get on, what I would tell men is this, before you jump on a plane to look for a woman, how many brothers do you have that you can go to today that you can confide in, that you can talk about some of these things that you're dealing with? You got a lot of brothers today that are dealing with things that happened in the past, things that happened when they were growing up, you know, maybe things that happened when they were a teenager or whatever. They've never taken the opportunity to sit down and to talk to another man and say, hey, listen, this is what I'm dealing with. I have my daughter this week was sharing me some things on, you know, and that's when she was sharing with me, I was say, man, this will be a good video to do. She was talking about how uncomfortable she feels about how certain men will approach her or look at her and all of that. And listen, brothers, let me just say this. There's nothing wrong with looking at another woman. Okay, your eyes ain't gonna burn out if you see a beautiful woman walking by or whatever, and you look at her or whatever. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's beautiful things that are around us. You understand what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. But there are many of our brothers that I see that because they didn't get that upbringing, they don't know how to approach a sister. You understand what I'm saying? And so a lot of times we need that training. We need that training from other men who may know how to do that the right way. Now forget, you know, but these sisters, they got drama and all that stuff. Okay, whatever. We ain't talking about that. I'm just looking at us as brothers, as men. You know, we need that help. You know what I'm saying? We need that guidance. And so when you don't have that, a lot of men we will back ourselves in the corner and we just convince ourselves, oh, well, I guess I got to figure this out on my own. What I'm telling you is, brothers, as men, we don't have to do that. It's just that, unfortunately, the way things are, we just figured that we're just going to hold all of this stuff in and we're going to deal with it ourselves. And what I'm telling you is that is not healthy. And that's what leads to, unfortunately, things like these self-terminations and stuff that we see in here. But I thought Shaq, he brought up a very, very interesting point. I'll be interested in hearing some of your thoughts on that. But I thought it was a very interesting point because there are a lot of men who do hold a lot of things in. You know, some of y'all who are not black, you know, you may be able to relate if you had a grandfather who fought in a war, and anytime you bring up the war or something, you ask grandpa, well, what happened? And they're like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, that kind of thing. And when you find out, man, it's what they went through was so traumatizing. A lot of them have convinced themselves that there is nobody out here that they can talk to work through those things. And what I'm saying is that is very unhealthy. And that is why we need to begin to focus on things like that, you know, on building bridges, on us having those kind of conversations before we start talking about what women ain't doing and all this other stuff. We need to work on how we talking to each other and building each other up and allowing ourselves to be, you know, transparent in these areas. You know what I'm saying? So I thought he brought up a very good point. And I think a lot of people are missing an opportunity to launch from what he said to really get into a full conversation on that particular topic. So I would really encourage people to look into that and to have your own conversations in your own house about that, because I think that's a really important topic here. But anyway, let's move right along here. These are two examples that I found on Twitter I thought was very nice. And these are fathers that, you know, at least on film, they're being good examples. And I thought that I really really like these two videos here. I had to edit it to get the music out of it, but hopefully you'll be able to hear it. So let me go ahead and move it over here and let's take a look at it. Okay.
Fight for you. Mommy can't fight for you. You have to go fight. Shoot. Yes, good try. I like it. Now we turn. Come up. Turn. Oh, yeah, baby. Good job, ladies. Great job. Great attempt at the shot, but why be tapped? Oh, it's you were fine. Not okay. You didn't even come to fight, baby girl. Okay, and it's okay to be nervous. But once we step on the mat, you have to go fight. If this isn't something you want to do, baby, that's fine. That's okay. But it's either you're in or you're out, baby. So if you want to be done for today, we're done for today. But if you really like the sport, baby, and you want to stay into it, you have to fight. Do you want to go back out there today? Okay, so if you want to go back out there and you want to do it, you got to go fight. I can't fight for you. Mommy can't fight for you. You have to go fight. I'm still proud of you no matter what for even stepping on the mat. But I need you to fight. All right? Let's try it again, okay? We got it. Give me a big hug. Give me a big hug.
You're the best son ever. You know that? My favorite. My best friend. You hear it? Eat the fry. You're the best son ever. The best. You hear me? Forever and ever. I'm gonna be your daddy forever. You hear that?
Oh, you see that? I tell you, the power of a father, being in place, for their children. It's invaluable. And the great thing about that is that as fathers, we don't have to say too much. Children don't, I think some children, they may expect us to say a whole lot. We don't really have to say too much. Just being there a lot of times is enough. I mean, I could look back even at my own father, and he was a man that, grew up like my mother did. They grew up in Jim Crow South. And so there was a lot of things that they saw, witnessed, and all of that. But they didn't allow that to hold them back at all in life. But they definitely went through a whole lot, And so my dad didn't fight in a war, but he was definitely someone who had gone through a whole lot. And even after that, coming up to the North and some of the things that he had to deal with, even with that, there was a lot that he took on. And so he was not someone that, like I often compare him to James Evans of Good Times. I mean, he was tough. He could be tough and all of that. And he didn't say a whole lot, but when he did speak, it was quite meaningful. But not only that, going back, he was a man of few words. He wasn't really expressive like that, but the fact that I knew he was there, the fact that I knew that he loved my mother and all of that, was the biggest example that he could give to me, and it was quite powerful. And when you tell your children that you're going to be there for them and you love them and all of that, and you are there, it does hold a lot of weight. I know for some of you, you may not have experienced that. You may don't even know anything about that. I get that, but don't allow, just because you did not experience that, don't allow these voices on social media to tell you or to convince you that that doesn't exist. I'm here to tell you it does, and this is why that for a lot of us, it does, for our health and wellness sake, we do need to unplug from social media a lot, because there are far too many people who are allowing social media to create narratives in your head that aren't real and they're not based on any kind of fact at all. And so, anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. But I thought that was very nice, very sweet and all of that. So again, welcome to everybody that's just joining us today on this broadcast. And I hope you guys had a great weekend and all of that. And so while you're here, just want to throw this in real quick. We sent out an email this week letting you know that Samba Tree, we are wrapping things up as we are transitioning to the fall season. That means that we have certain products that are seasonal, meaning that they're not going to be on the shelves for this season that we're in. And two of those products is our summer juices, all right, like our guanabana, or not guanabana. This is guava. Sorry, our guava juice, our coconut water, our mango. I wish I could hold all these up, and our soursop as well. These are going this week. This is the last week that you'll be able to order them, and we know that we got a lot of y'all who really love this product. And great thing we like about this, we searched high and low, but we finally found a product. It's 100% juice. There's no additives or preservatives or anything like that in here. And so we absolutely love this product. We're so happy to share it with you, but we want to make room for some brand new things that we're going to be introducing in a little bit here. So this is going to be your last week. You know, this is just not only for the 4 unit package that we have, but also for the bulk. We've had numbers of you who have ordered whole cases of these juices. So this is going to be your last week to order them. Okay, so get your orders in on that. But also, not only that, this week are Miss Sylvia's all natural laundry detergent. This is the last week for that as well. Miss Sylvia, she's going to be taking a break. Okay, so for those of you who have been really enjoying that product, our what you call it, our natural what you call it, laundry detergent, this is the last week for that. So that's for the individual bags and for the bulk bags as well. And I would encourage you, again, make sure you check out our website, sambatree.com. Again, that's sambatree.com. Make sure you check it out. We got a whole lot of natural herbal remedies and things like that. Everything from stuff that you take to topical, the whole nine. Make sure you check out our website. Again, that's sambatree.com. Okay. So just wanted to let you know this is it for those summer products that we have there. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next topic I want to talk about here. And again, for those of you who are just joining us today, I am doing an audio recording of this broadcast as well. So, and I'll make that available. Just make sure you check out our community page, and I'll put a link up there for you. So if you want to download just an audio version of this, it will be here for you. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next topic I want to talk about here. And this is something that's a little personal, you know, just on I'm just giving you my experience, but then I wanted to expand and go into this a little bit deeper here. One of the things I've noticed on social media is that it always seemed to me that regardless of the topic, it always seemed as if women tend to get a lot more traction than men on certain topics, right? And I just thought that was real interesting. And I said, well, maybe I'm just noticing things. So I want you to hold your bookmark right there, because I want to go back a little bit more. Then we're going to come back to that point, okay? One of the things that I do want you to know about social media is that, like we said, social media, number one, if you don't know by now, it doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about your feelings. There was a post that I posted, I believe, yesterday. And let me see if I can play that for you here. Because I maybe that will give you some context of what that will be a good jump place for us here. It was a short here. Let me just bring it up. Maybe hold on. Let me see. Oh, yeah. That would be under downloads. Let me see. That would be here. Let me see, as opposed to me bringing up the short. Hold on. If I can't do that, I ain't gonna worry about it. Let's see. Okay, I'll just do. I don't know what happened. That would have been under download, right? Oh no, it wouldn't because it's on my phone. That's why. Okay, I was wondering. I was like, where did this thing go? Anyway, let's go to our channel here, and let's go to shorts. Let's go there, and here we go. All right, so let me bring this up on the screen here, and let's take a listen. And it's the latest one that I put up here. So let's take a listen here, and this will serve as a good place to start.
All right, y'all. So I'm really trying to.
Okay, so this is a prime example of what I'm talking about. I want you to hang in here with me. Okay, so number one, that video that you just saw, or that little clip that I just showed you, that story actually took place not this year, last year, but the content creator that posted that decided to post that video to very recently, like in the last couple of days. I wonder why, but let's continue with this story here so we get full understanding. So if you read through the comments, it appears that a lot of people are already making assumptions. You see a picture of a black kid that's in a hospital bed, and you got this big old headline saying that, oh, he got hung. So where do you think most black people's minds are going to go with that? But let's look at the actual news story. Again, this took place last year, 2024. When you pull up the actual article, it tells you here that both students that were involved were of the same demographic. So in other words, you're dealing with two black children that were involved in this. And if you continue to read the article, you can also go on YouTube, because YouTube, they have the local news, they covered it as well. These children, according to the investigation by both the school and police, what they said was these two children that were actually playing around in the bathroom, and then I guess with the door, and one of their jackets got hung up in the door or whatever, and that's what caused one of the kids to choke out. But fortunately, it sounds like the child is doing well, and that's about as far as it went. There's nothing racial or anything about it. But if you take a look at the actual post, I don't know if you can see it or not. Yeah, you can. You can see 17,000 likes, and people are sharing. 11,000 people have shared this thing. A story that took place last year. Wonder why this content creator decided to share this now. I wonder if it had anything to do with this story here. You guys are familiar with this. We already talked about this. This is Trey Reed, who did unfortunately end his life by hanging. And there was a lot of clicks and shares on this very important story. But like we said, unfortunately, he died. And this gentleman, too, he ended his life like within 24 hours of this gentleman right here. My point is simple, is that there are a lot of people out here who traffic in black emotions and black ignorance. You got to pull away from this stuff. Use your mind and investigate. Okay, so yeah, so if I was to play the rest of this video here, I have it on my phone somewhere, but basically this, I should, let me see, because I want y'all to really see all of it here so you could get the full picture of what I'm talking about. Let me pull it up. It's on my phone here. Let me get this up here. Let's see. I thought I actually, hold on. If I didn't, I bookmarked it. Hold on, let me see. Okay, I bookmarked it. Okay, so let me go to the here, and then I'll just send it over to my phone here. Hold on for a second. All right, it's gonna be here, and it's going to be. All right, sorry y'all. Let me see that. Get to me. Let me get to here. Let me get to here. Okay, so this is sorry, y'all. I almost got it here. Almost got it. All right, here we go. Here it is. I got it. Got it. Thank you for your patience. Let's go ahead and copy that link, and then we're going to paste it here, and then we'll paste it, and then we'll look at it together, because I want y'all to see this. I'm always preaching, have the, get the full context. So I want y'all to get the full context of this right here. So let me pull this up.
I'm really trying to keep from crying because I'm sick of this. I'm sick of y'all. This is out of control. If anybody know the school, anybody know where this kid attended the school at, y'all call, y'all boycott. That school needs to be sued. I've seen comments where they're saying that people are calling the school and they're hanging up. I'm sick of it. This is out of control. This is ridiculous. I really hope he's okay. I don't know the condition that he's in right now, but I'm praying for him and his family. Yeah.
So all this time, everything
All right,
he's saying here,
so,
hold on for a sec. So everything he's saying there, you see how he's like supposed to, pretending he's like speechless and all that. Well, he's speechless because he didn't take the time to even read the story. And I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, like I said in the video that I just played for you. What basically happened, for those of you who missed that video that I just played, not that one that you just watched, but the one where I was talking, was that in that real story, first of all, that story took place in 2024. It didn't just happen. This took place last year. Okay, this took place last year. It didn't happen yesterday. It didn't happen the day before. It didn't happen this year. It happened last year. Okay. Secondly, if you didn't even have to get into the article. You literally didn't even have to read the article. They tell you in the subtitle of the article that this story, because the people involved, the individuals involved were of the same demographic, there was no race angle to this story. That's what they said in the subtitle. So you didn't even have to read the article. It told you that. But, knowing us, we're going to keep on reading. So as we read the article, it talked about that these two kids are like 7-year-olds or whatever, according to both the school and the police who investigated this. They said these kids were basically playing around in their, in the bathroom or whatever. They must clearly was climbing on something or whatever. One of the boys, his jacket got hung up. It got caught up in the door, I believe. And that's what caused him to choke out. I don't think he went like blanked out or anything like that, but he was found basically choking. They were fortunately able to get him, take him to the hospital, and from what I understand, he's fine. So I want you to hear what I'm saying to you. This is a story that took place last year. This guy that did this video, he just posted this the other day. What is he telling people to do? He was instructing people to get on the phone, to call the school, to boycott the school over something that was already found out, discovered, and it was already settled last year. Okay. Now, on top of that, there's no race angle on it. There's none. There's no race angle on it at all. But if you were to look at the post, it was, let me get it. Let me get the latest numbers now. Let me see if I still have it up here. 28,000 likes. 4,653 bookmarks. And over 16,000 shares. And when you go through the comments, people are treating this as this just happened. And not only that, many of these people are assuming that a 7-year-old black kid was lynched. And I was on Twitter today. This story is now spreading all on Twitter. There's another story that's spreading right now on social media, making a claim that 15,000 black folks are catching STDs. This is the second story that I caught where they were spreading these lies. The first one, they were saying that there was an STD HIV outbreak. No, back up. The first story that we caught, they were saying there was an HIV outbreak down in Texas. Remember that one? That spread like wildfire on social media. And you had all these commentators, all these social media content creators that was spreading this stuff and saying that y'all black folks, see, y'all got to get it together. See, you black folks, y'all keep spreading all this stuff. You having sex with all kind of stuff. This is black folks all over who was spreading this stuff. So they were saying this is going on in Texas, right? Then they moved on, and then they said there's a HIV outbreak happening in Atlanta. That was the second story. So by that time, I said, okay, let me take a few minutes and look into this. Let me go to verified sources. Let me go to the CDC. Let me go to wherever. Let me find out, is this true? Because I haven't heard that, but it doesn't mean I ain't hear everything. I don't hear everything, but let me look it up myself and see. The story was false. They said no. They said, yes, if you look across the board, you will see that out of all the different groups, black folks do tend to skew higher when it comes to STDs. That is true. But any claims that saying that there's some massive outbreak that just happened all of a sudden, it was a complete and utter lie. But guess who's spreading it? It's black folks spreading this stuff. And then the latest thing that I just saw, now they're saying in South Carolina, there's 15,000 people. They're alleging, I could go through it right now for you. I could show you right now. I'm not going to hook it up and all that to my system here and all that, but let me go to here. Let me show you. And there's a reason why I'm going through all of this with y'all. South Carolina STD outbreak.
15,000 people done tested positive for HIV in South Carolina, man. That's crazy as a motherfucker.
15,000 people tested positive for HIV in South Carolina. The worst part.
So there is an STD outbreak across several cities and states in the United States, that being Atlanta, Georgia, New Orleans, Louisiana.
These are the top 10 cities. Look at this right here. 15,000 people tested positive for HIV.
These are all black folks putting this out here. I looked this up today. It's a lie. It is not true. There is an elevated amount, as I said, STDs is a problematic for black Americans. That much is true. But the report, people suggest saying that 15,000 people all of a sudden just got HIV. And guess what they're saying? This is how crazy it is. You know how they're saying it's being spread? Now you ain't gonna like this. You ain't gonna like this. You know how I keep saying, y'all, this literacy thing, we gotta get a hold on this. We got a literacy thing, we gotta get a hold on this. You know how some of these people are suggesting that black folks are getting STDs? Trail rides. They're suggesting that black folks are getting STDs by riding on ATVs. I'll do a short on it. I'll show you. They are saying that black folks are getting STDs by riding on ATVs. And for those of you who are saying, what's an ATV? I understand. Them four-wheeler joints, it's like a bike, but it got four wheels on it. People ride on it out in the mud and all of that. Yeah, they're saying that black folks are getting STDs by riding on those things. Now, the only way that's going to happen, y'all, is if you riding it butt naked. That's the only way it will remotely be able to happen. If there's any possibility of someone that would be the only way you're going to catch an STD. But who are the people who are spreading it. You can't blame AI. You can't blame the white man. You can't blame the Jewish man. It's black folks that are spreading this stuff. You know how back in the day we used to talk about how we, again, remember we did a whole series of videos talking about the whole HIV epidemic and what happened and what really happened and all that stuff, and how scientists, they concocted a story talking about it was a green monkey and all that. Yeah, that was white folks that came up with that. But guess who's spreading this now? Black folks. Now, why is it that, why am I bringing this up? Because as it ties in, because I'm making my way up to that point. I told you, I said, hold your thumb there because we're going to come back to this point. I'm almost there. The way social media is structured, it is structured in a way where that kind of stuff, it gets pushed to the top. The more sensationalized you make your content, the more likely your stuff is going to get a lot of likes, it's going to get a lot of interactions, and you're going to get a lot of clicks, which means you're going to get paid for that. And there are not just Asian people, that understand that. There's not just white people who understand that, but there's black folks who understand that as well. Now, going back to that video that I just shared with you, the one earlier, not that one, but the last one, but the other one. Here you got a black content creator who understands this very well. He understands that a lot of black folks simply won't read. He also understands that a lot of black folks are tied in. They are led by emotion. So, and he also understood that many online black folks had just finished hoping, sickeningly, but hoping that the story regarding Trey Reed ended up where it was a white man that lynched him, but in reality that didn't. So he's looking at this and saying, I got to find a way to capture those numbers. I got to find a way to fill in that void. So this dude reached all the way back to last year, 2024, found a story that didn't quite match, but it had enough in it to be able to pass it on to you, because he understood that most of you would not even read it. You wouldn't even think about it and going to Google. He understood that. So he reposted it. And now he's getting shares. Money. You hear all that? All those are clicks off of your ignorance and the fact that this dude understood that you wouldn't even bother reading. And my point is, you have black folks that are doing this too. But my bigger point is this. Social media, the way it's structured, it is structured to promote this kind of stuff. Entertainment, messiness. If you're arguing about somebody, if you're ripping someone down, that kind of stuff, social media is designed to promote that. The algorithm, it does that. Now we're back at the bookmark. Now, I told you, I mentioned about how social media tends to skew in favor of women. Now, I want you to follow me on this. You can have two people who, you can have a man, you can have a woman. Doesn't matter the color. Okay, we're going to leave race out of this. You can have a man and you can have a woman who are talking about the same topic. And the woman, more often than not, and I have if you're interested, I can repost the links to the studies and all of that here. I'm not just making this up, but I'm just telling you, just for the sake of brevity, but I'll be more than happy to put it on a post so you can read it up yourself. Okay. But what they found is that more often than not, people will tend to listen to the woman, not because what she's saying is any different, but because they're looking at her. Because when a woman gets on the screen, you're not just listening, but you're also observing the woman. In other words, you're looking at her. You're checking her out. You're checking out her hair. You're checking out her makeup. You're checking up her size and all of that. And you're also listening to them. And then they also mentioned that there's an underlying belief that the woman is going to be more emphatic. She's going to be more, she's more tied into the story, and she can really better communicate the feeling of the story, right? Then you take a man who's saying the same exact thing, literally word for word. Word for word. And then you post him up there, he's saying the same thing. And he may be wearing his overalls or whatever. It ain't gonna be overalls, but ain't too many men unless you're a farmer. But he may be wearing just some regular clothes that's it, saying the same exact thing. And time after time after time after time, in most cases, he won't even get nearly as much engagement as the woman. And that happens literally a whole lot. And I thought I was making it up. I said, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm, maybe it's just my issue. Maybe it's me. Okay. Maybe I'm mad. Maybe I'm biased, right? When I looked at, nope, it's actually true. There's a whole study on this where they've looked into this. So social media, the algorithms for social media, it skews automatically to women. That's just what it does, right? But it also skews to this other mess that we see, like the, when it comes to, like people arguing, debating, it loves that kind of stuff. Sexual stuff, of course, entertainment. It basically looks at the things that you, as users, the things that you upload. That's what it looks at, because it says, okay, well, if that's what interests you, okay, well, we'll put it up for you. We'll recommend that because, all right, well, that's clearly what you're interested in. And one of the things I shared this week, I posted this in one of the shorts that I did this week. I'll put it up here on the screen for you in just a moment. Was this. Bringing it up right now on the screen. Was this. I typed in black women are the, that's all I said. And you can see it up there. I said black women are the, and look at between the searches that people make and the videos that people upload. Look at what it comes up with. Black women are the most educated. Black women are the blueprint. Black women are the standard of beauty. Black women are the beauty standard. Black women least protected. Black women are the strongest. Black women are the blueprint. Black women are the smartest group. Black women are the most beautiful. Black women are the chosen one. So this is what social media, this is what the algorithm, this is what it promotes. This is what it promotes. When you post, when you go to social media, it's looking at things like that because that's what you as the user who are uploading things and are talking about stuff, it's going to suggest those things back to you. That's how it works. You understand what I'm saying? So now, where I said earlier, I said, I'm going to make this a little personal for me. I'll give you my take, my experience with social media. Now, like I said earlier, I said, when you get older, you just kind of just say it and just keep it moving and all of that. When you check my track record, I have always, I tend to just stay on the things that not only ail what we call the black community, but hey, let's talk about the thing. What can we do to fix this, right? That's kind of where my wheelhouse is. That's kind of where I stay, okay, in that space. I don't want to just talk about the negative. I also want to talk about the positive. I want to talk about, hey, what can we do to fix this? I'm tired of this circular stuff, right? That's where I spend. And I used to get very frustrated because no matter how hard I worked in putting out content and in that arena and talking about it, it's very difficult to get traffic. It's very difficult. And when you do get traffic, a lot of times you got to fight with the people that you're presenting it to, because oftentimes they don't want to hear it. Like after this segment, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about one of those things, right? And so it gets very frustrating because you spend a lot of time putting together this stuff. You're like, okay, here's the facts that we know. Here's this, here's that, blah, 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 this, that, or whatever. Let's make it easier. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's open the phone line. Let's get people to talk. Let's talk. Let's get into this and let's figure out something and all of that. And it's like pulling, like old people used to say, it's like pulling hen's teeth. One of the things I said in my post, I've said it twice now. I said, if you want to if you want to jinx your if it's an article or if it's a video, put in there, here are the solutions that we can focus on to fix these problems. Put in the word solutions, then it's too late. You ain't nothing gonna happen with that article. There's nothing gonna happen with that video. I promise you. In most cases, that is the case. Because you have a lot of people when you're just trying to have a conversation with folks, first thing they pivot to is, what are your solutions? And I'm like, okay, here's my solutions here. Well, see, that ain't good enough. See, you trying to be, wait a minute, I thought you just asked about solutions. I'm giving you some solutions here. Let's talk about it. Oh, you don't want, see, the problem is, you're deflecting that. How am I deflecting and I'm giving you solutions? Yeah, these solutions may not be the right ones, but if you're willing to have a conversation, maybe between your brain and my brain and other people, maybe we can put something together and let's build something. But what you find out very quickly on social media, most people aren't interested in that. And so just looking at it from my perspective, just a little bit, as a man that's out here trying to present, okay, let's talk about these issues. Okay, not only let's talk about the issues, okay, let's talk about ways that we can fix these things. And now put that on one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, now I'm competing against sensationalized stuff, people who are putting stuff out that's sexual in nature, people that are putting out stuff that's far from accurate. And it also tends to skew towards women just because more often than not, everything I put out, it's what it is. I hope someone look at it. I hope somebody watch it. So I want you to understand, I have gone past chasing likes. Okay. I'm not chasing likes here at this point. Okay. Maybe a long time ago, maybe that was my mind. It is far from that now. I've come to settle in the fact that it's just, this is the system that I am working with. I cannot get before you and talk about the importance of leaving the matrix system, but get mad when the matrix system don't give me likes. That's hypocritical. Okay. So I'm past that. Okay. So I just want you to understand that. But this is what someone like me I deal with. Like, I'll give you another example. Like, we have another platform on YouTube. It's called Samba Tree. That's our YouTube channel for sambatree.com, right? And I have been doing a series on the brain, the different parts of the brain that I have put a lot into, right? But I'm gonna have to spread it out and all that stuff. And I had a lot of other plans. I said, man, we could do this, that, or whatever. I'm gonna tell you, it's very difficult. I have to pull myself together to do that. Every time I do a video, it ain't just me flipping a button and that's it. It comes after days of me struggling. Okay, is anybody even gonna watch this? So I had to resort in my mind, okay, if I'm gonna do it, let me just do it for the record so that at least it's out there. That's not to say that I'm the only one talking about the brain. Please, there are plenty of people out here talking about the brain and all that kind of stuff. But if anything, I want to use my platform as a way to echo these things that, hey, y'all, hey, this is something that's important. We need to focus on this, But even putting those things together, it takes a lot of work. When I put together a report, when I put together a class or whatever, It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort to do that. But the algorithm, on the other hand, you're working against not just the algorithm, but also the interests of the people. That's the other part that you're working against. Because it's not sensationalized, because you're not centering it around blaming white people, because you're not centering it around this, that, or that we're the greatest and that we're the gods on the earth and all this stuff, because you don't center around that, a lot of folks, they just, well, it is what I don't care. Now, I'm not going to say there's no interest, because there is interest out there. But it does take a tremendous amount of work. There's a sister out here now that she is a counseling. She follows us, and I'm subscribed to her, and it does sadden me a little bit. And she does counseling, but she has a YouTube channel where she kind of puts out, just some basic tips on, mental health and all that stuff. And I look at the views she get: 8, 10, 5, 3. And then I'll compare that to someone talking about the Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club, they get tens of thousands of people all fully engaged in that. Then on the other side, you got somebody here that's like, hey, let's talk about how we can break some of these cycles so that we're not doing the same mess again. Ain't no interest in that, because you're dealing with a multifaceted system that automatically will shut you down. This system also prefers some of the people out here that are outright lying. You know what I mean? So if you out here talking about we're the gods and we're the original and all of that stuff, and you're finding that, man, I'm getting a lot of views on this stuff. If the system is promoting that, well, guess what? It's probably something that you need to probably take a closer look at, because if your message is so anti-system, but the system is promoting you, you better back all the way up on that. You know what I mean? Because maybe what I'm saying, to that degree, I'm in still agreement with the system to some degree. So you got to find, if you really want to be true to yourself, you got to always check yourself. You always got to check your message. You got to say, okay, because I don't want anything I'm saying in agreement with this system. And the cost that comes with this, a lot of times, is going to come with low viewership. It is. So I wanted to take the time to go through that, because I want people to understand that, yeah, this is the fight that people have to go through. People who really want to talk to, and I say who really want to tell the truth, and are out here telling the truth. But when you're dealing with these multifaceted things here, it makes it very difficult. And it's not easy getting, going on a microphone. It's not easy. It really isn't. Because this is the layers that you're dealing with. And like I said, again, social media is not our friend at all. And they will promote people who are outright liars that have no interest in telling you the truth at all. I don't care if they black, white, or whatever. When you see coming down your timeline or your feed or whatever you want to call it, and every time you see us fighting, you see us arguing, you see the videos like, we are the gods of the earth and we are the salt of the earth, and everybody's trying to be like us. We are the center of the universe and all of that stuff. And you see the system like, yeah, that's right. Keep believing it. Keep believing it. But keep fighting. No, you're the center of the universe. But guess what? You're the center, and we up here watching y'all fight each other in the center of the universe. You know what I'm saying? You gotta ask some questions here. So ultimately, the social media, for true change to take place, and I'm saying this and I'm done with this segment here, and then we'll take a quick break. Let me just say this. If you, black people, but I say this to everybody, if we want to see true change, as someone who has been invested in technology for years, I went to school for technology. When the internet came, oh man, it just changed my life, like a lot of other people. because I saw the potential like so many people. And I'm using it every day as well as many of you. But I come back to this. As much as I, you, many other people have invested in this medium called the internet, it comes back to this. If you want to see true change take place in any community, real change, positive change, that's going to move a community forward, it's not going to start on the internet. It's not. You know why I say this? Because if that was true, Black America would be much further along than it is today now, isn't it? Isn't that true? Black folks accomplish. Think about when you look at Black American history, you go all the way back. We had a higher level of people who were in the sciences, people that were innovators back then. And a lot of these Negroes couldn't even read. They had less exposure to school. They had less exposure to the things that we have today. And they were doing more back then without the internet than today. So somehow we got in our minds that somehow a movement, some big movement is about to happen on the internet. We got the internet, but where's the movement? Don't tell me it's FBA, because that ain't no movement. It's not. But when you go back then and you look at the people and what they were able to accomplish under a true blue system, when you want to talk about they had their boot on their neck, on our neck, they sure enough had their boot on. I mean, they had a system where they were like, listen, you can't go outside after a certain time because you're going to get shot. You know what I'm saying? Or this going to happen to you, that going to happen to you. Meanwhile, you know what Black folks said? Okay, let's put our minds together and let's figure out something else. Okay, give me that tree, give me this, that, or whatever. Let's figure something out. They don't figure something out and come up with some great idea or whatever that people today are still using. And then you go today, we got the internet. We only talk about revolution. We only talk about there's change and positivity and all that. But the only thing the internet has done is given us a platform to allow us to showcase to the world how much we hate each other. That's really ultimately when you look at it. So what I'm saying to you is this. This is why it's important, and this is something I've emphasized and I've said over and over again. Change begins with you, and it begins with you recognizing that your community, it starts with people, you aligning yourself with people around you where you have a shared value system. You have shared characters. You know, when it comes to character, you share values when it comes to that. You share, the values when it comes to raising a family and, economy and things like that. Those are the people that we as individuals need to focus on, regardless if they're Black, white, or whatever. That's where it begins. But this whole mindset, you think just because you joined a Black Facebook group that somehow you're going to start moving mountains, that it doesn't work that way. So we need to start changing our mindset when it comes to, how we see the internet and all of that, because I'm gonna tell you right now, this ain't the medium. If you're looking for real change on a community scale, it's not going to be the internet. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Okay. So what we're going to do now, let me take a break here. All right. We're going to take a short break here. And when we come back, I'm going to give you some hard data. Some of y'all may not like it, but we're going to have to talk about it anyway. Okay. Thanks again for tuning in. Hang on. We're not going anywhere. I'm just taking a short break, and then we're going to get into it. Okay. All right, we're back. Thank you so much for tuning in and giving myself a break here. And we're going to move to this final segment here, and I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. And again, like I said, a couple of things. One, I am doing an audio recording of this, and give me about, I'm trying to think what I got to do to get that done. Give me about a half an hour after this live broadcast, and I'll make the link available on our community page. And for those of you who just want it to download and listen to it or whatever, I mean, it's there for you. Okay. I'll just make it available for you if you choose to do that. Okay. And then secondly, remember we are wrapping up our sale going on, not sale, sorry. We're wrapping up our summer juices over on SambaTree.com. We're wrapping that up, and because we're making room for some other things. So that's our juices, regardless if you get the 4-pack, I don't know if it's a 4-pack or 6-pack, I don't know, anything. Regardless, if you get the bulk, this is the time to get your orders in, because this is the last week. Okay, we're getting into fall, and our very own Miss Sylvia's all natural laundry detergent. Those are two things that are going bye-bye. So if these are things that you have been ordering, this is going to be it for the week. Okay. After this week, they're going. All right. So just wanted to bring your awareness to that. Again, the website is SambaTree.com. All right. So just wanted to bring your attention to that. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on to our final segment. And again, as always, I appreciate each and every one of you being here. I want to talk to you about, this segment I call when black folks come to town. Now, again, we're talking about an issue. We're going to be bringing up a problem, but we also want to talk about the solution. But we can't talk about a solution if we don't know what we're saluting, right? If we don't know what we're solving. What are we trying to solve, right? You want something to be solved, but you don't want to talk about the problem. So that's what I'm here to do. We want to talk about that, but we also want to look at how do we fix it. So I'm going to push this in as much as I can, okay? Make it as compressed as possible. All right, so really quick here. There is a, where I grew up in South Jersey, okay? And I grew up in a town, I was right next door to a town called Willingboro, New Jersey. If you lived in South Jersey, you might be familiar with that town. If not, you probably not. Okay, but I think even if you didn't live in South Jersey, it was, you probably at least heard the name. Some of y'all remember Olympic gold medalist Carl Lewis and Carol Lewis's sister. Well, they're from Willingboro. They went to a Willingboro high school. I could still remember as a kid seeing them in the newspaper, and all of that. And so, but yeah, So Willingboro, New Jersey. Now, before it was Willingboro, New Jersey, it was a town called Levittown. All right, Levitt or Levittown, one of the two. And Willingboro, from Philadelphia, I would have to say it's about a half an hour from downtown Philadelphia. It's very close. It's very close to Philadelphia. And we're even closer to Pennsylvania. But downtown Philadelphia, I would say, with nominal traffic, it's about a half an hour. And so during the 60s, this town is either Levitt or Levittown. There used to be a farm. South Jersey was known for a lot of its dairy farms. There was a lot of farmland that was there, whatever. And so anyway, the world is growing, the nation is growing, New Jersey is growing. And so that farmland was getting raised and was being converted to communities. And this was one of those communities, was Levitt or Levittown. And it was a white community, right? It was a pretty much all white community at that time. But then we start getting into the late 60s, and then when we start getting to the early 70s, black folks, things started changing. Black folks were getting a few more coins in our pockets. And we were like, you know what? I don't want to live in the city anymore. You remember I talked about this thing called black flight. And for some of you who are younger, I would suggest you look it up, because I know we got some folks who oftentimes you look at immigrants who are fleeing their countries and they get ridiculed for that. But what a lot of people who they will overlook intentionally is that black folks also would flee from our own cities and sections of cities that were traditionally black. There are many cases of black folks fleeing those areas. And it wasn't because of economic situation. It wasn't because we can make more money out there. It was because a lot of cases we were fleeing crime that was committed by our own people. How do I know? Because our family was one of them. And I gave you our story. We had a new car that was stolen by black folks. Okay. And so you had a huge migration of black folks that were moving out of Philadelphia and into what was Levittown, and later the name changed to Willingboro, right? Now, the town we lived in, there was a street right around the corner from us. When my parents were looking, again, we were living in Philly at the time, but they were looking to move to New Jersey. The real estate agent literally told them, he said, listen, now this ain't Jim Crow South. This is today. Well, in the 70s, right? And he told the agent told my parents, they said, well, that street down there, I'm just going to let you know that, they don't want black folks living down there. Now, this is an agent. You can't get away with that stuff now, man. You get a lot of trouble for that. But what white people were doing back then was that if they wanted to sell their house, they all came into agreement on this one street that they said, if we want to sell our house, we're not going to put any signs up. Instead, we'll just tell the agent, give them the wink, wink or whatever, and let them know, hey, listen, our house is up for sale. Can you know what to do, right? Now, this is around the corner from us. Again, I didn't grow up in Jim Crow South. This was in New Jersey, okay, in the 70s. Oh my God. Anyway, let's move on. First of all, as I'm going here, let me read this here. Thank you so much, TA, for the super chat. Said, thank you for all your hard work and always seeking the truth. Your analysis and commentary gives us hope for the future. Man, appreciate it as always. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that. So this is in New Jersey. Okay. So, that was just history, right? But then I found out today, it wasn't just the town I was living in. I found out all of Willingboro was doing the same thing. I didn't know that. All of Willingboro had basically got together and said, we don't want these black folks moving in here. So in the city, they passed, they did an ordinance or whatever, where they said, we're not going to put up any for sale signs here. Now, I ain't talking about a small town here. I mean, Willingboro was sizable. So you got a whole town in South Jersey that's like right outside of Philadelphia saying, we're not going to put up any for sale signs. Okay. And what I found out today was it actually went to the Supreme Court. I ain't talking about the state Supreme Court. I'm talking about the main Supreme Court. Willingboro was taken to court because they said, come on, you can't do that. So they threw that out. And then what happened? Black folks started coming in from Philadelphia area, right? A lot of black folks were coming in from Philadelphia area. Now, the reason why, again, the main driver why black folks were coming to New Jersey, what was being pushed, the reason why they were being pushed out, it was mainly because of crime. Crime was the factor. Now, I'm not saying that because, according to ChatGPT. No, I'm ChatGPT right now, okay? Because I was there, okay? I'm telling you, this is the reason why black folks were doing this, okay? Because of the amount of crime that was happening. And a lot of this was happening under black leadership. Okay, so you have black folks that were leaving Philadelphia, was willing to pay extra to get to a place where the schools were better and everything else. And here's the thing that I want to drive home too. You know how a lot of people say, when I look at history, when it comes to the most violent in the world, it's white people. They're the most violent. They're the most violent. Okay, so be it. They're the most violent. Okay, I'm not going to debate you on that. Let's just say that is. But if white people are the most violent, let me ask you something. Why then are black folks historically, why have we been chasing white people into the suburbs if they're the most violent? That's why YouTube and these other platforms, they don't like that. I'm trying to get you to think here. They're the most violent, but you have black folks leaving our own historical segments in the city to go into the suburbs where it's all white, and these people literally pass laws to make sure you don't come. But besides all of that, we're going to fight to make sure that we are neighbors with Mr. Charlie. That's how desperate were to get away from our own people. That don't work, don't it? That don't work. That don't play right on social media, does it? But that's what was happening. And so Willingboro at that time, I can see this like literally, I wish I could show you. Willingboro at that time, it was a very nice, beautiful town. I could still see people's lawns were just manicured. And this is white people and black folks. Really nice lawns. The schools were okay. It wasn't bad, but they were okay. Schools were okay. Every section of Willingboro, like you had Buckingham, you had Millbrook, you had Pennypacker. There were quite a few sections. Rittenhouse, that was another one. Rittenhouse was known for all of his townhomes and all of that. These different areas, each section of Willingboro had their own like public swimming pool and their own basketball court. And so, you would go there. There was nothing like, the drive on a summer day. You saw black kids and white kids swimming in the pool. And then you saw, of course, mostly black folks at the court playing and all that stuff, right? It was a nice town. I mean, you if you want to see an example of black folks and white folks living together and there weren't really any problems, Willingboro was actually a good image on the surface for that. But there was still some change. There were still some things that were happening underneath that. A lot of white people, they started engaging in more white flight. Where were they going? They were going to cities. They were going to nearby towns like Marlton. They were going to Cherry Hill. They were going to Morristown. They were going, if they had the money, they were going up as far as Hamilton and Princeton. That's where the prices start going up. But white people were getting out of here. Then you also had a lot of white people that were moving to the suburbs of Pennsylvania. Okay. I had a front row seat to all of this. So everything I'm telling you, I saw this. So when that happened, you had more and more black people moving in. Now we're getting into the late 70s and then the early 80s. When you look at the numbers, as white people left, guess what began to happen? Crime started going up. Again, for those of you who don't like looking at numbers and the FBI, they're lying about the numbers and all that. What I'm saying to you is, okay, let's put the FBI numbers to the side. Let's put all numbers to the side, and let's assume for a moment that, okay, any numbers that you see from this one on this topic, they're all lies. They all made it up. What I am telling you as someone who lived there is that it did happen. You begin to see crime go up. Now, when I say crime went up, I'm not saying that you couldn't even go outside anymore. It wasn't that bad, but crime did happen. All of a sudden, you start hearing about people getting shot. All of a sudden, you start hearing about random fights going on. And in fact, it got so bad. You remember I talked about those different public pools and basketball courts? Many of those things they had to shut down because that's how bad it got. And a town that really prided itself when it came to education for the most part, that school, all of us watched how it became one of the worst schools in the area. And then when those manicured lawns that I talked about earlier, a lot of it went away. Now, some people who lived there, I'm sure you try to bring up some other things here. Well, they did this and when they got rid of this and that, but bottom line, this is what you see happening a lot. Okay. That's that whole story of Willingboro. And now you have the next wave of people. You have a lot of Caribbean people that moved from New York and have moved down there. And it's taken on a whole nother element too. Again, if you go to that town today, you can live there. I mean, I'm not saying it's like some kind of like Thunderdome and people shooting all. It's not even that bad like that. But from what it used to be to what it is today, the one thing that changed was the demographic. That's one example. Now, very quickly, I'll give you another example. We lived in Southern California. First time when we moved to Southern California, we lived in Orange County. Loved it. It was nice, all that, right? We moved away. We came back to California. And this time we lived in the Inland Empire area. We lived in Riverside County. And this was during the time of the housing boom, right? And what was going on was you had a significant number of blacks and Hispanic people moving from LA out to the Inland Empire area, mainly in San Bernardino and a town that I never heard of until I moved out there. Was called Moreno Valley. And never really heard of this town at all. But you had a large influx. It was the same conditions, the same reasons. Black folks were willing to pay extra to get away from other black people. And Mexicans and vice versa. You had Mexicans trying to get and Hispanics that were trying to get away from their own people too. Same thing. And they moved out to Moreno Valley. Nice homes and all of that. But then all of a sudden you start hearing about the crime. All of a sudden you start hearing about gang violence and all of that. And what was happening was this. In both of the scenarios I just gave you was this. The people that were moving, even though they were moving away from their own people, they were still carrying the same problems. See, it doesn't matter. Like when you go on social media, a lot of times, and you hear about black folks, like they'll come to somewhere like Arizona, or they'll move to some, I don't like this area. You know, this people is, you know, every time when I come to this state, these people are racist, or these people in this state are this, that, or whatever. And I can't stand this area. I hear that a lot, regardless of the state. You hear a lot of that when it comes to Arizona, but I hear that in other states too. You know what I hear when I hear that? It's not the state a lot of times. It's the person that's talking. Because you think that somehow that the state is going to be able to carry on the mess that you left just in a tamer way. But no, it's not. This state's got its own vibe. And what you're trying to do in many cases, you're trying to bring your own mess to that situation. But the state is like, no, we don't do that here. And because they have a standard, you don't like it, you're like, I'm just going to go back. Well, then go back then. I'm not saying all states are perfect and all this, but my point is, in a lot of these cases, people are bringing their own mess to these new houses and to these new communities. And when you really and honestly and truly look at case after case after case, where you see these large migrations of black people moving into these communities, we make fun of this. We joke about it on comedic stages, but I'm talking about this in a very calm, sane conversation. I'm looking at not only the numbers, I'm giving my own personal experience. And I'm telling you, this happens a whole lot. But when we try to talk about it, people get mad. How dare you bring that up? Why are you bringing that up? This needs to be an in-house conversation. But see, we have to talk about it so we can solve it and face it for what it is. People have more energy for Charlie Kirk than they have for this, talking about that, how much they don't like him, than talking about this kind of stuff. I don't understand why we can't talk about it. The truth is, this happens a lot, a whole lot. I could tell you, even in Atlanta, the same time, when I moved to Atlanta, there's a road that's right off the 75. As soon as you cross 285, the loop, and you're going into Marietta, when the second exit you get to, once you pass, I forgot what the first one is, but the second exit is going to be a road called Delk Road. When you get off of Delk Road, when we moved there at that time, it was full of apartments. It's probably still, I'm sure it's still the case. Very nice apartments. It was clean. You didn't have to worry about any kind of crime, nothing like that. I watched how Delk Road went straight down. The more and more people like us started moving there. Folks, this is real. But like I said, in many cases, we don't want to talk about it. But I'm bringing this up because all of this has to be brought to the sunlight, and we can't continue to bury this stuff. You know what I mean? And so this is why, and here's the solution part. How do we fix this? Someone said it in the chat. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. It starts at home. It starts in the house. It starts with you making a decision that, listen, I'm not going to defend this stuff anymore. I saw this video the other day of, not Charlie Kirk, Chris Brown. How can I get them confused, right? Chris Brown. And he did this video where he's literally humping his woman on the stage. And you got all these black folks loving it, right? At the same concert, someone showed a picture. They was like, oh, look at Chris Brown. He has his 2 daughters there. Oh, see, that's a real father there. I'm not lying. That's a real father. See, he's a real father for having his daughters there. And I was hoping that I found somebody in the comments that kind of like ding, ding, ding. Unfortunately, I did find at least one person, but they got attacked. They were like, you humping several different women on stage and your daughters are there. That's not really fatherhood. You know, that's not a good example there. And so, but there are numbers of things. This is why you will hear me say, and I'm closing this down. When I say so-called black community, what we call black community, a lot of times, it encompasses a lot of these bad behaviors. And what it's going to take is, it's going to take individuals like you and me to call these different bad behaviors out. For example, another one would be, single moms, having, a lot of single moms. That has become a flex, right? Another one is every time you turn around, you going online, you see people twerking all over the place. That's become a flex. I just saw a video today, old women, I'm talking about in their 80s, they putting poles in these old folks' homes where these old women are twerking on these poles. That's become fun. Everybody's like, you get it, mom. Get it, mama. That's become a flex. A lot of that, it's when we talk about dysfunction in the home, a lot of that has become, it's normalized. So I'm just saying to you, listen, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here. But what I'm trying to say to you is this, is that it has to start with you. It doesn't start with a group. It starts with you. And for a lot of us, you're going to have to isolate yourself from the rest in order to get a fresh start. And that's going to be painful for some of you. And for some of you, it's going to mean a little something different depending on depending on your situation. But for many of you who are listening to me, it's going to require that. It is going to require a level of isolation that you're going to have to completely separate yourself. And in some cases, separating yourself from what we call today black community. I didn't say separating yourself from black people. I'm saying what we call today black community, because what we call today black community is toxic and it's self-destructive. But there are other black folks that are out here who are not in that category. Let me be clear. There are other black people who are not toxic, who are not self-destructive. But I want to challenge you with this. Don't just look to connect with other black people. Look to connect with other people where you can have a mutual benefit in whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to build a career, whatever it is, look for people that you can walk with and you can talk with and you can build with. And that is the key. That is the key there. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is the challenging point for y'all. Is not just looking, I'm rooting for everything black. No, we're in the age right now where you got to start rooting for yourself. And anybody that's toxic, be it people speaking to you through these microphones or on TikTok, if they're not benefiting your life, if you're not at the end of the day able to look back and say, okay, wow, what I just heard, that really helped me. And I'm going to make these changes. If what I am saying to you and challenge even me, some of y'all were on here, I've been on here for an hour and 43 minutes. If there has been absolutely nothing at all of worth and of value across the board, what I say, then damn the whole thing. I'm done. At the end of the day, I want my life to mean something. And if it means nothing, if I'm just out here just running my mouth, pull the plug. Pull the plug. I don't be here anymore if that's the case. And I think we all have to work. We have to get to that point. Or our life is going to need to mean something. And that brings us to our unfortunate brother who decided to take his own life this week, Trey Reed. His life meant something, regardless if you want to believe that or not. For the most part, there's nobody on this video on this broadcast, they even know that man, that young man. But his life meant something. It meant something. And we have to start looking at ourselves like that. The problem is there was nobody around him that could tell him that. Nobody. You could tell me all day and night that you're part of the FBA world, that you're part of the ADOS, that you're part of this organization, you're part of that online organization. You could say all that you want, but on the back end, when you have this kind of stuff happening, where, as I mentioned earlier, you got people who are fully invested in lying to you, taking advantage of your emotions and lying to you by using the algorithm. People who look like you, who do this every day. And then also you got people who get so caught up in the lie that they're willing to take their own lives. That's a failure. That's a failure. You understand? And I'm not calling him a failure. I'm saying the fact that it happened, that's a failure. You understand what I'm saying? And that's a failure on the so-called community. And for people to look the other way simply because, well, black people really don't do that. It shows just how much people will find ways to deflect, and because they don't want to look at the truth. Well, here on this platform, that's what we do. That's what I'm doing. When I do these videos, every time I do these videos, I act like I'm talking to tens of thousands of people, even when I only have one person on here. That's how I operate, because that is what I'm built to do. I'm built to do this. There's nothing in my DNA that said you got to do this with likes. What you're witnessing, what you're seeing, this is what I'm built to do. I can't stop it. I've said this the other day. I said, this is what I'm built to do. But there's certain things I'm going to need to get these other things done, because I can't keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but at some point I'm going to need some stuff to get some things done. You understand what I'm saying? Because just staying at this level, this ain't it. I'm ready to start building some real things. And I'm building, understand what I'm saying? I'm building where I can with the little that I have right now. You understand what I'm saying? But there are certain things that I'm trying to get done that I can't get done because the resources aren't there. This ain't me asking you for money, by the way. There are medical centers that need to get done. You understand what I'm saying? There's some real counseling centers that need to be built. There are people that I know that are doing stuff right now that I know if they just had a little bit more, it would change just overnight, just like that. Some of these things we talk about, overnight, it will be done. That's what I'm talking about. I ain't got no, I was telling Nicole the other day, I said, I see people, I'm out here in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area, and you see, depending on where you go, you can see people with money out here. You understand what I'm saying? You got folks out here that got some money out here, okay? I see some of this. I don't want any of that. I don't, we get 5 or 6. I really don't. I don't. Because I'm at a point in my life right now. Is it going to matter? No. Now I want to focus on this. Now I want to focus on, okay, let's get rid of these diabetes. Okay, once and for all, let's get it done. Once and for all, let's get rid of this. That's why when I was sitting up here and watching these people crashing out over this whole Charlie Kirk stuff and all that, and that's happening right here in this state. Y'all, I can get in the car and probably be up there I'll be in there in an hour, less than an hour. If I went to go, I don't want to go there. Not because I don't like them. I just say, for what? That ain't my focus. I'm sorry to hear what happened to him, but that's not my focus. My focus is here. My focus is what I'm doing here. What I'm talking about, that's where my focus is. It's not there. You understand what I'm saying? It's not in, oh yeah, let me talk about what Trump said the other day, and you see them white people up there, and you saw what they said about black. I don't care. I don't care about that. What I care about is what can I do with the resources that I have today to continue to build? If I got coins, then let me build a coin house. If I got a little bit, let me do that. Let me do whatever I need to do. There's no school. They need to do more black schools out here. We got to see what we got to do. Start educating ourselves. Okay, let me build my own school, and I'm gonna call it Samba University, where I'm gonna take the time and I'm gonna start teaching folks the stuff I know about this. Boom, that's it, done. Next, there ain't no like y'all gonna have to get to my Patreon because I'm trying to get this school together. Bump that. I ain't waiting for that anymore. Okay, if we got the little that I have, if I'm able to get it done, let's get it done. Let's go, because we got enough here that we can build a little bit here. A lot of people like to talk about and brag about what your ancestors did with the little that they have, but now we forget about that. I want that same spirit that they had with the little that they had. Okay, let me make more of it. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm tired of being teased with the bigger vision. I can't get there, but okay, let me work with what I have. And when I'm out of here, let me die with a hammer in my hand and some nails in the other hand, and I'm doing the work. Let me go out like that, period, done. If I got to do this social media thing right now, all right, I'll do that. I'll do that too. But I guarantee you, this is only one part of it. If you think I'm just sitting here running my mouth, that's it. There's a whole lot more I'm doing. And that's what I'm focused on, and that's it. So anyway, I can go on with that. But anyway, I hope you guys get what I'm saying. I hope you understand what I'm saying, and you get what I'm saying. I hope you are challenged to do something. I don't care how old you are. If you're breathing, your heart's still moving. I don't care if you're in a wheelchair. You still have use, you still have value, and you still have something to contribute to a lot of this stuff here. But it starts with you isolating yourself from the foolishness. Because as long as you still trying to hold on, we all got to come together, you ain't never going to go nowhere. The niggas ain't going to get you there. They're not going to get you there. You got to cut these niggas off of you so that you can climb higher. Okay? Let's leave it at that, okay? That's it. We're going to leave it at that. Give a big shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Really appreciate your time, spending this afternoon, this evening. Hey, listen, you guys take care, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Let's make it one, okay? If we don't wait for the weekend to be a good one. You make it a good one, okay? We are choosing today for this week to be a great one, okay? Let's choose that together, all right? And let's keep climbing higher, all right? And let's cut off the foolishness. So let's go. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care, and I'll see you in the next broadcast.